Holy cow, guys. This rain is absolutely insane. It has been kicking my butt for several weeks now. And after I did so well in the ghost town last week, searching for the coal miners' relics and treasures that were left behind over a century ago, I decided to just come back to the same area. For those of you that missed last week's episode, we found several amazing antique bottles dating back to between 1900 and 1916. Some bottles here in the state of Alabama can be worth thousands of dollars, and that's why we love to search for them. You don't leave good treasure to find more treasure. And here is loaded. Look at there, there's an old whiskey neck right as I'm talking. So I had a few minutes before this rainstorm just popped up on me, and the water was still clear enough for me to be able to spot a really amazing find. Y'all check this out. I had a major debate today of whether or not I wanted to wear my waders and suffer possible heat stroke because it's so hot here in Alabama, or to just wear my muck boots and hope that I don't get a leech on me. And I opted for risking it with the leeches today. We've had about 6 inches of rain in the last 2 days, and I'm hoping that the erosion has exposed a whole lot more treasure. I think I may have a hutch on my very first bottle. The current is so strong right here, but I feel the blob top sticking out. Oh, what are you? No! This is the one that I found part of just 2 days ago, and I told you I've only ever seen like 2. How the heck does that even freaking happen, guys? How does that happen? How do I not find one, get so excited about the piece of one I found, and then pull a whole one right behind it? I mean, this is rarer than the one with the elk on it. I mean, this is absolutely an astonishing find. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe it. All right, I'm gonna stop going on about it. I'm gonna keep walking. We are still in some murky water right now after the rain, but this is why I like to be the first one to the creeks. Wow. I've kind of been walking this bar right here, picking up pieces of glass for Miranda's jewelry business, and I just spotted a button down there. I don't know if it's a glass one yet. And there's a piece of glass right next to it too. Oh, I didn't grab the button. There it is. I grabbed a rock that felt like a button. Let's see if I can get it this up. Stay put. There we go. Yep, that is a glass button. That's a nice find. A hutch and a button. What a way to start the day. There's got to be a ton more out here. That's what we want to find with the elk on it right there. These bottles now go for about $150 a piece, and this was the rare one. It doesn't have the PPW on the bottom for Pioneer Bottling Works, so that variant is actually the rarest of the hutches, other than the one that I found earlier that doesn't have the elk on it. So, wow, we're just right in a good spot after all of the rain. Got a little turtle right here. Hey, buddy, we're not gonna mess with you, don't worry. He's pretty far off the creek. I'm actually up on the bank having to go around a bunch of trees that fell across. So look at the size of these trees though. Monster trees. That one's probably about 200 years old right there. So as we walk along, I'm gonna try to answer a few of the questions that we get hit with every single week. The first of which is, why is there so much glass in the waterways and debris and trash? Well, to answer that question, and this is kind of a two-way answer, if you will, it is because the people that used to be here believed that they didn't want to put their trash in an area that may be developed at some point in time. So what would happen is they would dump their bottles and their trash and their debris into swampy, low-lying areas close to creeks and riverways. Well, what they didn't accommodate for was, in time, erosion would take the banks like this one right here and absolutely move them 5 to 10 feet in either direction. And I've seen that just happen within the last 10 years. When that happened, it got into the areas where they dumped their trash and their debris, and it washed it right into our waterways. And so, yes, there is tons of glass. Some of it's modern, and that's just from people being lazy and throwing stuff out as they're kayaking or swimming. And some of it is much older. And the older stuff is probably where they dumped along the bank lines. So that's why we have so much glass. The second question is, that we get all the time is, why are there so many marbles? And because we've added several thousand new people over the last few months, I know that I answered this about 6 months ago. I'm going to do it again. I think the reason that we find so many marbles is due to how affordable the marbles were at the time. They were the most common toy at the turn of the century. And the other reason I think that we find them in the creeks is because they were probably shot with slingshots. And that might be why we find so many broken old bottles as well. Kids out here picking them off one at a time with their slingshot. Now, another question that we get, this is more along a personal level, so I hope you guys don't mind, is do I work a full-time job or is this all I do? To answer that question, yes, I do have a 40-hour-a-week job that I maintain as well as this channel. It is a big task to try to maintain. I will be honest with you guys and tell you that it is my dream to become a full-time content creator. And I could probably do that now, but I want to be safe. I don't want to be one of those guys that steps out on a limb and then the limb breaks. So for now, I am still working a 40-hour job a week, and I film this stuff usually on Saturdays and Sundays, and then I do my editing during the middle of the week. Now, that's also why we struggle sometimes to get videos that are over, say, 12 to 15 minutes. It's just because I'm limited on the amount of time that I can actually film. And also, it is very difficult for me to work around the weather, which you have already seen in this video. So that's 3 of the top questions. Now, I'm going to answer one, and this may fluster some of you a little bit. The question is, where are you? Can you tell me the name of the creek? Well, as mentioned, I do have a full-time job, but over half of my family's income comes from what we find in these creeks. So I will tell you that I'm in a creek in Alabama, and that's usually all you'll get out of me. And that's not me being rude or me trying to be selfish. I just want to be sure that you guys understand that our eBay store, our livelihood, depends very much so on what's in these waterways and in our dig sites. So we don't readily share those with people unless we know them very well. Now, one of the other questions that we get is, how do we find the old dump sites? Now, you heard me say that it's usually next to waterways when I was answering the very first question. But the other side of that you don't think about is a lot of times they're actually near graveyards. And you may be wondering, well, why in the world would they put a dump next to a graveyard? Well, around the turn of the century and even into the 1800s, a lot of people didn't know how to contain disease. And so obviously, the dumps were filled with rats and disease. Well, the dead were also diseased. So they would put the diseased stuff usually on one side of the town. So your dump and your dead were in the same areas. That's a clue. And then the other one, like I mentioned earlier, is the waterways. So you always want to keep both those things in mind. I would say around half of the dump sites that we have or that we found or that we know about are next to graveyards. So that gives you pretty good odds. I hope that you guys didn't mind this little bit of a Q&A. I might start doing this once a month or so. So if you've got good questions that you want me to answer, drop them in the comments below. If I don't get right to them, then what will probably happen is I'll probably answer it at a later point in time. Just pick this piece of plate up. It's got some floral pattern on it. Nice crazing. This will be a really nice piece for Miranda's jewelry. And I guess while we're talking about questions, a lot of people have been asking about how to find us on eBay. I figured out if I put the eBay link in my videos, they don't do as well. So for you guys that may be interested in her jewelry, the whiskey glasses, or even some of the bottles that we found that are duplicates, all you got to do is Google Adventure Archaeology eBay store and it'll pop right up. Look at that. That would have been an elk. So right in there, there's a copperhead. I know you guys probably can't see him. I'm not going to disturb him. He just kind of slithered right up underneath that bottle into that pile of stuff. So again, this time of year, for those of you that are at least in the southern states, be very mindful of the venomous snakes if you try this. They are abundant. And no, they're not out to get you, but if you were to stand on one on accident, there's no promises that he wouldn't strike at you. So always keep your head on a swivel. I didn't think this one was going to be full whenever I picked it up. I found one of these last time I was here. Just a honest measure, full pint. And you never know when you're going to pick one of these up. They're right here in that circle slug. There'll actually be a town name. A lot of them are paper labels, but in Tuscaloosa County here in Alabama, Tuscaloosa Dispensary actually used an honest measure flask, and they embossed theirs in the slug plate. I'm going to dig out from under the bottom and then slowly work it. Oh my gosh, it says something. You've got to be kidding me. Holy crap, Tuscaloosa dispensary. And it's freaking perfect. No way. Can y'all see it? Boy, I'm glad I listened to y'all and came back here. So every time I see one, my heart jumps just a little bit, and I look really, really hard to make sure I'm not missing anything in that particular area. Okay, I see something really freaking cool. Right there, it looks like an owl looking back at me. It wasn't an owl, but man, that looked like owl eyes. Still a beautiful piece that my wife's gonna use for some jewelry. She'll be excited that I picked that up. Wow, absolutely gorgeous. Look at that heartbreaker right there. That could be Civil War era. Holy cow. Man, that thing is beautiful. The break looks fresh to me, like within the last few years. So the rocks got this one before we did, sadly. And that's why we're so dead set on walking these creeks as fast as we can behind the rainstorms, because the new stuff that washes out of the banks is going to be banged against all these bricks and stuff as it washes downstream. If we don't get it out as fast as we can, it's risking losing it forever. And this is a prime example of something that we didn't get too fast enough. Every time I'm here, of course, I'm gonna pick up a ton of these bottles like this one right here, the cork tops that you see everywhere. There's a half of a doorknob handle. Let's see, there's another one of those cork tops. Like I said, these things are basically around every turn in here. It's absolutely nuts how many of these were used by this town. Look at that right there. Wow, that would have been really cool, guys. That's the side to a churn, and that would have been the handle. Holy cow. I wonder how old that is. Look, that was literally the potter's fingerprints that pushed the handle into place there. That's really neat. Man, I've never found one of these old crocks whole, ever. We find jugs, we find mini jugs, we find hutches, but for whatever reason, the crock jugs or the butter churns are not something we find very often down here. This came out of nowhere. It was supposed to rain today, but it was beautiful and sunshiny. I don't know what happened. The rain's slowing down, but I'm scampering up this bank. It is crazy how fast the water levels can actually rise. And there's an animal hole. What do you think's in there? A groundhog? If I had to guess, that's what it is. Maybe it won't come out and bite me and give me rabies. Holy cow, guys. That was a crazy flash flood that we just had. I mean, it was nuts. That little guy. He looks like he would probably sting you pretty good. We're not gonna mess with him today. My daughter loves caterpillars though, so I had to get this little shot for her. So up this hillside, at the very top of this particular town, is the graveyard, as well as where the school once sat. And we're gonna make our way up there. I'm gonna show you the graveyard. We're kind of coming in from the backside, but here we are at the graveyard. And I think the first thing that you guys are gonna notice is gonna be the thing that I noticed first, which is the lack of headstones. There's only a few here that are stone. The rest were made from wood. So we're now in the graveyard, and just like that, the rain stopped. I'm gonna show you a couple of these headstones though. Look how decorative that is right there. It's like the gates are opening and the dove is right there. I guess that would be the gates to heaven. You got a star up in the top right corner and one on the left side as well. That is actually a really neat headstone. Over here, you've got something, all I can make out on it is an M and a G. You do have over here a couple of more headstones. This one says Father on top of it. And then you've got a stone one that's pretty decorative. It actually kind of looks like a Woodsman of the World headstone. It says Gone but Not Forgotten. And it looks like it's got a dove carrying some kind of branch as well. Again, most of these folks died around 1916 to 1918. And these were the coal miners that were in the town, if I had to guess. Most of these headstones were wooden and they rotted in time. Somebody came back many years ago and tried to replace them. And in time, they have rotted and fell apart. You can see they just didn't stand a chance out here. This one right here is actually marked as unknown. And I think that a lot of times people think that the coal miners probably made a ton of money. That was not always the case though. Most of the time the coal miners were being paid by the company money, if you will. They had their own tokens, their own store, and they weren't paid in cash. And In return, they got really pretty low wages. And that's why I think the majority of these headstones were not stone, but wood. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below, though, to see if you agree with what I think about that. With that being said, I wanted to show this to you while it was raining. Now I'm gonna go show you where the school used to be. So we're now where the school used to sit, on top of this hill. Many years ago, there were tons of kids playing. Check out the column that's still there. They did repave the parking lot. I'm not sure when this thing was torn down, probably back during the 60s or 70s, but the school sat right on that knoll in front of us. Now they do keep the grass cut here still. It has been metal detected extensively, and I think most of the good stuff's probably been picked out. So all that's left of the school now is the foundation that you see. Right through here, you can get the shape of the building. Again, we're just kind of following the foundation line. This is a pretty good sized school. Tons of kids went here. So now that I showed you just a glimpse of this town that we've been searching, we're gonna head back to the shop, and I'm gonna show you a couple of the upcycling / recycling projects we got going on with the glass, some of my wife's jewelry, and a few of the whiskey glasses. Let's check that out now. We have officially made it back to the shop and into a dry building. Thank goodness. I'm so tired of this Alabama weather and the rain, sun, and then humidity. Today, the humidity about killed me once the rain finally stopped, and that's why I was out of breath climbing up to that graveyard. Hope you guys can forgive me for that. As mentioned, I wanted to take the time to show you some of our upcycling and recycling projects, which I'm about to do. But this is the bottle that we found today. This is that Pioneer Hutch. And this is a phenomenal bottle to find. As mentioned, I've only ever seen a few of them. I talked to another collector. He said probably less than 10 of these are known in existence that have no damage. So I was very excited to find that, needless to say. This is a beautiful bottle. It's going to take some tumbling though, and we're going to have to put it on there for probably about 10 days, and hopefully most of this creek rash that you see will go away and it'll look fantastic. This is the one that we found last week that I said I was going to repair. I have located a top that matches about the same amount of wear as the bottle, and this should be something easy for me to saw and then take and place it right there on top so it'll be ready for display. Again, it will not bring the same if I were to ever sell it as this would, but it'll be really nice to have something that looks like it did over 125 years ago. Now, as for the projects that we've got in the works, as you can see down here, we have got a ton of jewelry that my wife just got through listing on our eBay store. Each one of these items were found in creeks or local waterways. She takes and nips or breaks and cuts these into the shapes that you see. We put them back onto the tumbler. We round the edges to make sure that they're not sharp anymore. She drills the holes that you see in them with diamond drill bits and then adds the sterling silver hardware. So again, if you are interested in these, they're already listed on the eBay store. The whiskey glasses are a very, very hot item for us on our eBay store. They usually sell out within an hour. I try to list 3 to 5 a week, and they're gone ASAP. So for those of you that are interested in the whiskey glasses, I think we're currently out of inventory. We should be listing more the day after this video releases, so keep an eye on it. I recommend following the store so that you don't miss the items as we list them. You'll be notified by an email notification if you follow the store as we list new stuff. Right here, I believe, is the Pioneer bottle from last week's video. And you can see it does have a little bit of creek rash to it. That's okay, though. We're going to put it on the tumbler and take care of it. This one has already been through stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 is when we take the saw and cut it. Stage 2 is when we come in and round the edge. The very last step is when we put it on the bottle tumbler. This is a nice Glee Cola. This is going to be a great one as well. We've got another Pioneer. This one has some creek rash on it. That's okay though. Again, the tumbler will take care of it. All of these will be tumbled before they're sold to the public. This is a nice Amber Gerst Bottling Works from Nashville, Tennessee. Another Gerst aqua colored one. Then we got a couple of Dr. Peppers that are ready to go. For those of you that heard me mention tumbling, if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of like a big rock tumbler. Each one of these tubes has a bottle inside of it, as well as about 10 to 15 pounds of copper. It will run 7 to 10 days with our Digger's Dust oxide, and it will turn these bottles back to the clarity they were when they came right from the factory, which is really neat. So if you want to, check out our other videos about the tumbling stuff. We got several of them already on the channel. Over here on this side, we've got 150 pounds of broken glass that we're kind of sorting through, that we've pulled from waterways and accumulated over the last few months. So in the next few days, we're going to be going through all of that. This is all whiskey glasses that are done with stage 1. So take a look. We've got a bunch of them in there. There's all kinds in here. There's a straight side Coke from Birmingham, Alabama. That's gonna be a really good bottle. We've got some more Pioneers. It looks like we might have a couple of amber. Yep, amber Coca-Colas as well. All of this stuff will be coming to the store sometime this year. Again, if you enjoyed the adventure this week, be sure that you're subscribed where you don't miss our future videos, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.